In the early days of flower farming, it's easy to believe that social media is the way to grow. I mean, everyone says it. Post consistently, show your face, keep up with the trends. And at first, it works because you're full of energy. You're sharing your progress, and it feels exciting to connect with others online. That was me over 6 years ago. You see, I had this dream of turning my love of flowers into a real-life business, and I was willing to do whatever it took to do so, even if it meant working around the clock. But after a few seasons, the pace starts to catch up with you. The pressure to stay visible, it can feel overwhelming. Maybe you're like me, still passionate about your farm, but you're burning out trying to stay relevant online. Let's be honest, most of us didn't start growing flowers to become full-time content creators. If this sounds like you, I want to open your eyes to another way of doing business. One that I've come to lean on more and more as my own business has grown. Because here's the truth most flower farmers aren't talking about. If you want long-term growth, you need more than a social media presence. You need a website. It's often the most overlooked and underutilized tool in our flower farming world. And yet it might just be the most powerful. You see, a website is your digital home. It's a space that works for you while you rest. It grows with you over time, and it helps your business feel grounded and professional without requiring you to always be on. It's not flashy, it's not urgent, but it's quietly transformational. So if you've been craving a slower, more intentional approach to growing your flower farm, this video is for you. So let's talk about why your website matters and how it can support the kind of life and business that you're cultivating. If there's one thing that's changed most my flower farming journey, it's the pace that I choose to work at. In the beginning, I was all in on social media. And to be honest, it made sense. There was so much excitement. I had fresh blooms, I had big dreams, and a strong desire to share what I was building. Platforms like Instagram, they helped me connect with customers, helped me grow an audience, and build momentum. But as time passed, I began to feel differently. The pace I started with, it wasn't the pace that I wanted to sustain. I didn't want to feel glued to my phone in order to feel successful. I didn't want algorithms to decide how visible my farm was, and I definitely didn't want to build a business that only worked when I was actively online. That's when I started making a quiet shift. I began treating my website like a core part of my business, not just something that I threw together because I felt like I should. And slowly, everything changed. A website gave me what social media couldn't: stability. A calm, consistent space to share my story, list my offerings, and serve my customers without chasing the next trend or constantly producing content. Social media is still part of my business, but I no longer treat it like the foundation. Think of it like this: if social media is a fast-moving stream, well then my website is a well-tended garden. It grows slowly, but it lasts. And that's the kind of business that I want to build. Now, I know you might still be skeptical. If you're not yet convinced that a website is worth your time, hang with me. In just a moment, I'll actually take you behind the scenes of my own website and show you real data. Proof that even a small digital presence can make a big impact. But first, let's talk about why I believe that every flower farmer, yes, even if you're just starting out, should consider creating a website. For starters, it's your digital home. Unlike social media, where your posts vanish in 24 hours or get buried in the feed, your website is yours. It's a space where customers can always find you, whether it's the height of tulip season or the dead of winter. Even more importantly, it gives people the chance to connect with you without distraction. I mean, let's be honest, we live in a world of endless scrolling and overstimulation. On social media, your audience, they might see you, but just as quickly, they're swiping away to the next thing. A website invites your audience to slow down, to stay a while. It creates space for your story to unfold. It's where people can truly get to know who you are, what you grow, and how your flowers can become part of their lives. One of the most beautiful things about having a website is that once it's built, it takes so much off your plate, especially when it comes to communicating the basics of your business. In this sense, your website becomes a quiet worker behind the scenes, sharing your story, answering common questions, and guiding customers, all without needing you to show up in real time. It's the ultimate create once, share many times tool. Rather than repeating your story over and over again in emails or DMs, your website can hold it beautifully and consistently. A heartfelt about page, a simple what we grow section, a clear FAQ. These pieces not only help your customers feel informed, they also save you time, energy, and mental bandwidth. I mean, if you've ever felt like you're constantly repeating yourself on social media, you're not alone. As creators, it's easy to assume that everyone is keeping up with our content. We think, well, how could they not know what's happening? I've talked about it 5 times already. But the truth is, your audience is busy. Even your most loyal followers are juggling a million things, and you're rarely top of mind. That's why having a website is so valuable. It becomes your go-to tool. It's a central hub and always available space to direct people to. Instead of constantly re-explaining yourself, you can say, I put everything you need right here, follow this link. It's simple, clear, and effective. To give you an example, I do this a lot during our fall season. In case you're not familiar, our farm typically opens from Labor Day through Halloween for the sale of our pumpkins, our potted mums, and our other seasonal decor. And during that stretch, I'm very active on social media. I'm constantly sharing on stories and in static posts about when we're open, where we're located, and what forms of payment we accept, and so on. And still, every single day, without fail, we get phone calls, emails, DMs, and texts asking those exact same questions. Now, rather than typing out the same message over and over, I created a simple landing page specifically for fall visitors. It answers all the important details people need to know before visiting our farm stand. That one page cuts down on so much of the back and forth communication. And honestly, it's been a game changer. Because here's the truth, a confused customer can't buy from you. When you make it easy for people to get what they need, they're far more likely to take action, and your website can make that happen. Now, perhaps my favorite part about having a website is that it continues working even when I'm not. You see, people can find me and learn from me. They can sign up for events or place an order while I'm unplugged, while I'm walking the fields or, spending time with my family. And there's something deeply reassuring about knowing that my business can keep moving without needing my constant attention. And while that's a gift to me, it's also a gift to my customers. Understand that unlike social media, your website is searchable. That means when someone types a question into Google, something like the best flowers for a fall bouquet or flower farms near me, well, your content has a chance to show up and serve them in that exact moment. You're not just hoping that they saw your post earlier that week. You're meeting them where they are with exactly what they need. Searchable content has a much longer shelf life than a social media post, and it's one of the most powerful ways to build trust and credibility. You see, when you get into the habit of solving problems, like I do, for example, through my blog, you begin to establish yourself as someone worth listening to, someone your audience believes in, and when people trust you, they're far more likely to invest in your products, your workshops, or your guidance. And in some cases, well, that trust can also translate into other income streams, like affiliate marketing. For example, when I share tools, books, or resources that have genuinely helped me on my journey, I will often include affiliate links. If someone makes a purchase through that link, I receive a small commission at no extra cost to them. It's one simple way my website brings in passive income even while I'm offline. To further drive home my point, if I show you the analytics for my own website for just the past 28 days, over 19,000 people have landed on my website. And here's the remarkable part. That content, well, some of it was written years ago. Even more exciting, those visitors found me despite the fact that I haven't posted to Instagram or Facebook in months.
Now, let's pause and dive deeper for a second, because I really want to make sure you're getting the full, authentic picture here. I know some of you might be thinking, okay, but aren't those numbers just because you've already built a following on Instagram or YouTube? And that's a fair question. But the truth is, that's not where most of this traffic is actually coming from. Let's take a closer look at my actual Google Analytics. Now, up top, you'll see the date range, March 3rd through March 31st. And this graphed front and center, it shows how many people landed on my website during that time. Now, if we scroll down, this box on the right, it confirms over 90% of those users came from organic search. That means Google. And to drive the point home, I'll scroll down a little more so you can see the full breakdown. Out of 21,000 total page views, over 20,000 came directly from Google. Pinterest, on the other hand, just 500. YouTube, 250. And Instagram, a whopping 37. This is the power of having a website that's searchable, a place where your content quietly works in the background, bringing people in, answering their questions, and building trust, all without you having to be constantly online.
Now, this doesn't mean social media isn't important. It absolutely plays a role in my business, and I do plan to return to it more consistently. But it also means that I don't panic when I'm not posting, because the long-form content on my website continues to do the work for me day after day, season after season. And I know what you're thinking. If you're worried that this means even more content creation, pause for a breath. Your website, it doesn't replace your social content, it supports it. The blog posts I write often become the foundation for what I share elsewhere. I take the deeper thoughts and break them into bite-sized pieces for social media. So when someone finds me on Instagram and wants to go deeper, well, there's already a home waiting for them. It's not extra work. It's smarter, more sustainable work. Okay, if by now you're on board with why a website is important to your flower farming business, let me share some tips for getting started. First things first, let me start by saying this. You don't need a perfect, polished website on day one. You just need a place to begin. Think of your website as something that will quietly grow alongside your business. You can start small, simple, and meaningful, adding layers to it as you go. That's exactly how it happened for us here at Two Sisters. In the beginning, our website was nothing more than a basic landing page, a place to introduce who we were, what Two Sisters Flower Farm was all about. It was nothing fancy, there was no blog or even an online shop. But over time, as our business grew, so did our website. Now it takes orders for us, it shares blog posts, it connects people to what we're growing, both in the garden and in the heart of our work. And it all started with one simple page. Now, if you're ready to get started, here are a few places that I'd recommend you focus on to begin. Start with a simple homepage. Your homepage is often the very first impression someone will have of your flower farm. So think of it like a warm welcome. It doesn't have to be complicated. Just like when someone visits your farm in person, your website should offer a clear sense of who you are, what you offer, and how they can take the next step. So a few things I suggest you include are a short introduction, who you are and what your farm is all about. Your location. This is especially important if you're serving a local audience. Also, explain what you offer, whether that's you pick flowers, seasonal bouquets, workshops, or CSA subscriptions. Let people know what they can expect from you. And then finally, include a next step. Should they sign up for your newsletter, browse your offerings, visit your farm stand? Make that clear with a simple button or link. And that's it. Your homepage doesn't need to be flashy or perfect. It just needs to feel like you and to give your visitors a clear path forward. Now, my next area of focus would be a heartfelt about page. This is your space to share your story, why you started flower farming, what you believe in, and who you serve. It doesn't have to be long or perfectly polished. It just needs to be real. We live in a world where most of us are glued to our screens. Genuine connection can feel rare, and yet that's exactly what people are craving. Your About page, it gives you the chance to speak directly to your reader, person to person. It's where you show them the heart behind your business. When someone reads your story and sees a bit of themselves in it, well, that's when trust begins to grow. That's when connection deepens. And that connection, well, it's what often leads people to choose your flowers when they're ready to buy. Because when someone knows who you are and why you do what you do, they don't just want a bouquet, they want to support you. So take a deep breath, speak from the heart, and simply be yourself, because that's more than enough. Okay, so as you feel ready, consider adding a page or section for your offerings. Even if you're not actively selling just yet, it's still helpful to include a page or section that shares what you plan to offer. Whether it's seasonal bouquets, you pick events, workshops, or flower descriptions, give people a sense of what they can look forward to. Help them imagine the experience of buying from you. What will it feel like to walk your rows, to carry home a bouquet grown with care, to attend a hands-on workshop on your farm? You don't need every detail figured out right now. This page can evolve with you, but sharing what's in the works let your audience know that something beautiful is coming, and it gives them a reason to keep following along. And it also signals that you take your work seriously. And when you treat your business like a real business, well, others will too. So even if you're still in the early stages, don't be afraid to show people what's ahead. When the time comes and you're ready to open your doors, they'll be ready to say yes. Last but not least, make it easy for people to get in touch. Now, this could be as simple as a contact form or a link to your email address, just something that lets your visitors know that you're open to connection. And if you're feeling ready, consider adding a newsletter sign-up form. You never know when someone will want to stay in touch, even if they're not ready to buy from you just yet. Now, if the thought of building a website makes your shoulders tense up a little, I get it. I'm not particularly tech savvy either, but I promise, thanks to modern website tools, this doesn't have to be a pull your hair out kind of process. There are drag and drop builders and beautiful pre-made templates that make it surprisingly easy to get started, even if you've never done anything like this before. In case you're curious, I built my own website using WordPress, mostly because that was what was recommended to me when I was getting started. From there, I used a design tool called Elementor, a drag and drop visual editor that let me customize my site without needing to write a single line of code. Now, WordPress is what I use, but it's certainly not your only option. Let me suggest a few beginner-friendly options that have been suggested to me. A simple overview of these platforms, it may help you think through what might be the best fit for you. While I don't have any personal experience to share, the one website builder that I most often hear about is Squarespace. Now, Squarespace is a hosted platform that offers everything in one place, no separate hosting needed. From my research, it looks easy to use and great for beginners with a clean drag and drop builder. Just know that it offers less customization down the line. As I've said, I personally use WordPress, which is a self-hosted platform that gives you more flexibility and control, especially as your business grows. It does take a bit more setup. You'll need to choose a hosting provider, but with tools like Elementor, you can still build something beautiful without knowing how to code. And if a full-fledged website feels like too much right now, there are other platforms like Substack, which can be a great starting point. If your main goal is to share writing, like blog posts or reflections, Substack is a simple, free place to begin. It's not a full website and it doesn't offer much design flexibility, but it's easy to start with you if you just want to get your thoughts out into the world. Now, a few things to consider as you pick and choose your platform. The first being budget. Website platforms can range from free to several $100s per year. And in the early stages of your business, that expense might feel hard to justify. If that's where you are right now, that's okay. I encourage you to choose a platform that aligns with your current goals and fits within your budget. There's nothing wrong with starting small. These days, I can confidently say that my website is worth the investment. The time, energy, and clarity it saves me, it makes a measurable difference in my business. But it didn't start out that way, and it didn't need to. Also, consider your long-term vision for your website. You might not need an online shop, a blog, or a newsletter sign up right now, and that's perfectly fine. But it's worth asking, would I want these features down the road? If so, consider whether the platform you choose can grow with you. Some platforms are simple to start with, but more limited later on. Others may require a bit more learning up front, but offer more flexibility as your farm and business evolve. You don't need all the bells and whistles today, but it helps to know what direction you're heading, so you can choose a platform that supports the future that you're working toward. And one more thing, because I think it's important to say out loud. Just know that building an online presence with a website, it's a long-term strategy. You probably won't see instant results. Unlike social media, where a post can go viral overnight and disappear just as quickly, a website grows slowly. So don't be discouraged if it feels quiet at first. Your website, it might not bring in a flood of customers right away, but with consistency and care, it will begin to work for you in ways that social media can't. Looking back, I am so grateful that I started when I did. The content I created years ago is still serving my audience and still supporting my business to this day. So start where you are and give it time to grow. When I think about the women that I've met through flower farming, those just beginning or those a few seasons in, there's one thing that seems to unite so many of us. We didn't start this to hustle. We started this to live differently, to move through the seasons with more awareness, to feel the soil in our hands, the sun on our faces, and the joy of creating something real. And yet, when it comes to building a business, it's so easy to fall into patterns that don't align with that vision. Suddenly, you're chasing metrics instead of meaning, trying to keep up instead of rooting down. But your flower farm isn't meant to grow like an app. It's meant to grow like a garden, slowly, intentionally, in rhythm with you. And your website can be a part of that rhythm, a place that reflects the kind of life you're choosing to build, not the one the internet keeps telling you to chase. The moment I began treating my website like a real part of my business, not just a side project or an extra thing on my to-do list, everything shifted. I no longer felt like my entire business depended on whether or not I posted that day. I wasn't scrambling to show up just so people would remember that I existed. I had a space that worked for me, even when I was offline or in the field or resting on a Sunday afternoon. My website became the quiet backbone of my business. It gave me a place to share my story without character limits, to list my seasonal offerings in a way that felt calm and organized, to welcome customers who found me through word of mouth or search engines, not just social media. I realized I could still grow without the burnout. I could still connect without performing. I could still sell flowers while living a life that felt like mine. And that realization gave me so much peace. There's something deeply comforting about building a business that doesn't ask you to be someone you're not. When I stepped away from the pressure to be constantly visible, constantly posting, constantly proving, I finally heard the sound that I've been missing. Peace. Not because everything was perfect, not because the work disappeared, but because I knew my business could breathe without me. There's a quiet kind of success that comes from alignment. When the way you show up in your work matches the kind of life that you're trying to live. My website, it doesn't go viral. It doesn't demand my energy every day, but it shows up. It supports me and it allows me to run my flower farm in a way that feels deeply true. And I want that for you too. As we wrap up this video, I want you to remember that you don't have to give up social media altogether, but you can stop letting it be the only place your business lives. You can create something quieter, slower, and far more sustainable. Something that grows with you, not faster than you. Your website, it doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be yours. A digital home for your farm, a gentle place for people to find you, connect with you, and support what you're growing. So start where you are, with one page, with one story, with one offering. You're building more than a business, you're building a life. And this is one of those tools that can help support it, now and for the seasons to come. Okay, as usual, this video, it definitely felt longer than I intended, but it's my hope that you found the information I shared today useful. Let me know if you liked it by giving this video a thumbs up. And if this sort of content resonated with you and you'd like me to dive even deeper into this topic by sharing strategies like how to drive traffic to your website after you created it, well then let me know by leaving a comment below. And while you're down there in the comments, please be sure to hit that subscribe button as well. It truly does help small channels like ours to grow. Now, that is all for me today. Thank you so much for hanging out. And as always, I can't wait to catch you in the next video. Bye, guys.